Welcome back to the COS Business Podcast. My name is Andrew Hasley, and I'm the host of the show. Today, I'm sitting here with Kelly Bull, and your business is Kelly Bull Permaculture Design, right?
Permaculture Design.
Yeah.
Yep,
Sweet. Can you tell us a little bit about what your business is?
Yeah, so I'm a landscape designer, and I really specialize in landscape designs for more of the DIY and eco-conscious homeowner, generally residential. And I'm really looking to connect people with nature through their own backyards and teach them how to make their yards super productive without needing a lot of maintenance.
One of our sponsors is Recon Marketing. Recon is the fastest growing social media marketing agency in Colorado. Recon focuses on becoming an extension of your business while providing social media management, review management, and digital marketing. Recon Marketing, putting you on the radar. Our next sponsor is Planet Duct. Planet Duct offers astronomical air duct cleaning with the most powerful vacuum trucks in Colorado. They have taken air duct cleaning to a new intergalactic level that is far more powerful and proactive than anything on the market in El Paso County and southern Colorado. Sheath Underwear. Sheath Underwear has a pouch for the boys. It is everyday underwear for every man. 100% money back on the first pair if you don't like it. Visit sheathunderwear.com and enter the code COSBP20 to get 20% off your order. The People's Tiny House Festival is the nation's largest gathering of simple living, featuring van conversions, bus conversions, and tiny houses, of course. Catch the event in Loveland, Colorado, July 16th and 17th at the Ranch Events Complex.
Get your tickets at peoplestinyhousefestival.com/tickets.
Okay, and that's what the permaculture part stands for. The perma part in the permaculture stands for, right?
Yeah, permaculture stands for a lot of different things. It actually originated, these two guys in Australia coined the term, but really it comes from a lot of indigenous practices. So Native Americans and indigenous people all around the world have been doing these things forever, but these two guys named it permaculture. And so there's a movement of permaculture, but it is important to give credit where credit is due to
for sure, yeah,
indigenous populations. Yeah.
Okay, so how long have you been doing this?
I actually started my business just last September.
Okay.
I'm new to Colorado Springs, moved here in June, and got the business set up in September, and have been rocking and rolling.
So you haven't even been here a year yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
What brought you to Colorado Springs?
My husband actually got his dream job at the Colorado Springs School. He's a college counselor. And
nice.
So, and then I have been wanting to do landscape design for a while, and got here and just saw all of the yards that were perfect. And there's lots of landscapes that could use some help. And
for sure,
especially in this really difficult to grow climate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just perfect for me too. So we're so happy here. We love Colorado Springs so much.
Yeah. So what got you into the permaculture?
So I've always really loved plants. Grew up gardening with my mom and doing flower gardens, and then I studied horticulture in college, and then worked on organic farms and plant nurseries, and then I did gardening, like fine gardening for very fancy gardens, and so I've just really always loved working with plants. And then I actually became a teacher because I really loved plants, but I loved teaching people about plants because I just get so excited about them. And so I became a high school and a middle school science teacher and sustainability studies teacher for 8 years. And then during, while I was teaching, I took this permaculture course. And it just was like all of these different pieces of my life fitting together, and everything made so much sense. And all of the things I learned with permaculture felt like it was common sense, but it hadn't occurred to me. And so I feel a lot of people when they take a permaculture course say the same thing, where they're like, why didn't I ever think of that? So it's simple things like using your downspout water from your house to water your garden instead of letting it flow into the street. And so just very simple things.
And downspouts from the gutters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow,
so,
okay.
Yeah, it just really connected a lot of pieces for me. And then I found this much more sustainable, easier way of landscaping and gardening, and I just want to share it with the world because
for sure
everybody can be feeding themselves and providing shade in their yard and making their yards beautiful and feeding the birds and beneficial insects in a really, really easy way.
Okay.
So it doesn't take a lot of maintenance. It doesn't take a lot of energy. People who say they have a black thumb can garden in this way. And so I just really want to teach everyone how to do this. So
Okay.
that's part of what I'm doing with my
So
company.
it's mostly automated.
Pretty much. So I specialize in a lot of perennials, the plants that come back every year. So perennials and shrubs and trees, and especially ones that provide food for you and for wildlife, so that you plant it and then you have minimal maintenance of just making sure it gets some water. It could be from your downspout.
Yeah.
And that it will come back every year, really with or without you.
See, here in Colorado Springs, we don't get as much rain as other places, or
Right.
at least long rain. Like every time I've noticed rain, I'm from Kansas City, Missouri, so like we'll have weeks where we have just nonstop rain. Like here, it's hard to get 30 minutes of rain.
Yeah, definitely.
So do you have like sprinkler systems or stuff like that?
So I like to start by saying there's a saying that you should plant the rain before you plant your plants. And so you want to think about where your water's coming from first before you put plants in to make sure that they're really successful. And I like to always start with rainwater and making sure you capitalize on every drop that hits your property.
Okay.
And
So you collect it.
You can collect it in Colorado. It's illegal to collect more than 110 gallons, which is 2 of those big blue barrels. But you can collect that. But then storing water in the soil is also super important. And so if you really work on your soil quality, but you get a lot of compost in there, you make your soil super healthy, it holds on to a lot of water like a sponge.
Yeah.
And so then you can be using your soil as a water holding vessel.
And then that bypasses the law that's against, because you can't really weigh that. You can't really like count that. Like, what are they going to weigh your soil?
Yeah. And it's the most natural and the cheapest way to do it because you don't need anything. You're just building your soil and then helping to make your soil healthier and then helping more plants be able to grow in it and then
Just
feed
makes
you
sense.
more. It just makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know why it's there's a law against that?
Oof, it's some ancient laws and lots of it is a complex system.
It seems like a law that exists only to benefit companies.
Yeah. Yep. And I think there's a lot of tradition attached to it. And so, yeah, I hope that we can definitely make some changes to those laws
For
soon
sure,
in
yeah.
the future. So I'm definitely looking to work with changing policy and water policy. So if there's anybody out there who is working on water policy, I would love to work with them and figure out how to make some changes because they're pretty backwards.
Yeah, it makes absolute no sense to me. What the heck? It seems, I don't know. It seems wrong. Like it's the rain,
Yeah. And with
Yeah.
our changing climate, it's getting hotter and it's getting drier. And so we need to make some changes to make it
For sure.
more comfortable to live and that we're being more resourceful with our resources.
So what's some of the things that you've done so far? I know you said you were new. Like, what are some of your favorite projects?
So my favorite thing has been the clients that I've been getting have just been these awesome people. So primarily women, that are DIY, just confident and, want to make changes to their yard, didn't really know what to do, took the step to get help. And then I have this design for them where, actually my last client just said that I gave her the design and I was like, "Hey, do you feel comfortable? You feel like you can do this?" And she was like, "Yeah, I think this is like a paint by number where now I can just follow this plan." And so instead of it feeling really overwhelming, she can just go piece by piece and number by number and then put the plants in where I've told her to put them. And so that's been my favorite part so far is just the clients that I've been getting, how wonderful they are. And then seeing them feel empowered, that they just felt overwhelmed by their yards before. And now they feel like it's something that they can handle and that they're excited about it. And that's really all what it's all about. I just want people to feel excited about their yards and to really connect. And then when they're excited, then the environment improves because they've planted these plants and they're feeding the wildlife and hosting insects in their yard. And that's what I'm after.
What's the importance of the insects?
Oh, man. Yeah, we have become major insect phobes.
Yeah, we
people
have.
are afraid of insects. And so
I'm fascinated by insects.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Since I was a kid, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
You have a favorite one?
I don't actually. I'm fast. They fascinate me when I see them. I'm the kind of guy that stops and looks at them, takes pictures. You know.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, there's the scary ones and the gross ones, but the majority are so beneficial. And the pollinators have been in the news a lot, that we're losing our pollinators. And if we lose our pollinators, we lose our food. So it's like 98% of the food that we eat has to be pollinated by insects, unless you're eating grains that can get pollinated by the wind. So super important for us to eat food. And then I've just learned how important caterpillars are to birds, and that so we think about putting out bird seed for birds, but when birds, the majority of birds are babies, they have to eat caterpillars. And so in order to complete the life cycle, birds need caterpillars. And we are just paving over our landscapes, or we're doing xeriscaping with the rocks, and we don't have any plants in there. And so there's no plants to host those caterpillars to then feed the birds. And so it's just really, it's a detriment.
Yeah. And the reason we have a lot of people do that rocks because it's so hard to maintain grass out here is what I've heard. I don't have a yard.
Yeah.
I mean, I do, but I don't maintain it. We've got rocks.
Okay. Yeah. So the rocks seemed like a really good idea when we were trying to cut back on water usage. But then one thing that I really like to do is think about how productive we can make our yards. And so a lot of people think that just if you're planting a lot of plants, then it's going to take a lot of maintenance. It's going to take a lot of water, but you can do it in a way where it doesn't, and you're using that downspout water, or they're native plants and they're getting watered naturally, and they don't need a lot of water. But the thing with the rocks is that it's like making it neutral. It's not really doing anything good, right? And so if you had plants in there, it could be providing shade, feeding the wildlife, and also feeding the microbes that are in the soil. So that's a whole nother universe underneath the soil.
It is,
and I get very excited to talk about soil because there's so much going on in the soil and all the biology and the life that lives in the soil that we are not treating it very kindly. And so by spraying pesticides and chemicals and fertilizers on soil, we're actually killing all of this life that lives in the soil that is doing all this free work for the plants. So you have all of these organisms that they're kind of like miners that mine the nutrients, and they'll actually lock in the water into the soil. And so they're doing these incredible things, but we're treating them really bad and killing them off so that we can't provide more life above the soil. And with the rocks, one thing is they're not really contributing to soil. They're not really degrading or composting very quickly. Like that's like in millennia. But if you had something like mulch or leaves that just drop from your trees and you leave the leaves on the ground, they decompose, they feed the soil, they feed the microbes that then feed the plants that then feed you, and then it's just so much better.
We don't want to be raking. We want to let that stuff set. And it's there's a lot of things that we've done with like over the last, I've heard with yard, that is just like bad for the environment, and like you're saying those pesticides and all that stuff that not only like is bad for the yard, but doesn't that like leak into our drainage systems, leak into everything, leaks into our food supply, and then next thing you know, like people are getting sick, not even sick, but I mean I can't say for sure like that's what's happening, but I've read some studies about things. What was the chemical, I don't remember, but there's some things, and this is Autism Awareness Month, and there's been some links to stuff in our food like pesticides that may be linked to autism. And I'm not no scientist, but I'm saying that like these things are connected, like you said, permaculture.
And it started out with good intentions. People didn't invent chemicals to try to make everyone sick. They started out by trying to kill the pests that were eating the food crops so that we could have more food to provide for our population. But now we're finding out that it has really serious consequences, and there's much better methods. And it's really just all about about education. And that's also what I'm really trying to do through my company, is educate people on better methods, because we've been doing the same thing for years of spraying chemicals on the lawn to make it greener. And when the microbes would do it for free, but we killed them all because we sprayed the chemicals on the lawn to try to get nutrients there. So it's just telling people what the science behind things, what's actually happening, and retraining how to do gardening and landscaping in a more sustainable way. And it's amazing, because what is healthier for you is also healthier for the environment. And so it just makes so much more sense to do things in a more sustainable, ecological and healthier, and actually it becomes more economical too, to do things more naturally.
It builds on itself for sure. Are you familiar with John Rocky?
No.
Okay, he's got a company that really focuses on really treating the soil correctly to help grow the grass, greener grass. And
Great.
He actually recently started his company, I think, he was on the show. So if you want to go check his episode out,
yeah, I'll check him out.
You guys might even be synchronous and be able to help each other. So.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
Great.
And so we were talking, he does some similar stuff on that. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a great program. It's Dr. Elaine Ingham's Soil Food Web School, and a lot of people have been taking that, and it is just, that connects all the pieces with soil health and environmental health and plant health. And so I wonder if he's part of that program as well.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, he was an engineer. That's what he did, and he realized he could take his engineering skills and apply it to because he moved out to Colorado and realized that it was hard to grow grass, and that kind of, he was fixing his own lawn, and in that he kind of got inspired to start his business.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. So where did you move from?
Most recently, Arizona. So
okay.
I was in Arizona for
even
3
drier.
years. Yeah, even drier. And then I was also in New Mexico for 4 years. So definitely have a lot of experience with the dry land landscaping and farming. And it's a whole other ballgame, because I grew up in Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah. So you
similar to Kansas City.
Yeah, you throw seeds in the ground and they grow and they get watered naturally. And,
for sure.
Yeah. And then I had to retrain how I garden. And I actually love gardening out here because I like the challenge, and I think that it makes you more resourceful, it makes you more careful and thoughtful about what you do and the designs that I make. And so I really kind of like that aspect.
Yeah.
You do have to retrain how you do things.
For sure. So have you been gardening your whole life? Is that something you've been passionate about?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. Ever
Nice.
since I was little.
Nice.
Yeah, I've always been very connected to nature, and also I've always felt very protective over nature and the environment too. I was the kid who was turning off the taps for my siblings when they're brushing their teeth, and
that's how I do it too. It's there's no reason to keep the water running the whole time. Use it when you need it. When I'm shaving, it's just brush, turn some water on, shake out the shaver and, shave another, it doesn't need to be running the whole time.
Right.
That's just, I don't know why I built that habit. It's just something that I just made sense to me. It's why am I running all this water through for when I'm not even using it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. So what do you think have been some of your biggest challenges with this business so far?
So I guess finding, at the beginning, I didn't know if I was ever going to find clients because I was really working and trying to get my name out there, but being brand new to town, I didn't know that many people. But through networking groups, that's been super helpful. And the business community here is just amazing. Small business community.
It is, yeah.
Everybody is so welcoming and made so many friends and so many connections. So that really just helped me get off the ground. And then it was in 1 week, I got my first 4 clients. And
first 4? Wow.
it just all happened all at once.
My first week, I got 1 client.
Oh, really? That's great.
Yeah.
Well, so not the first week that I started, but in 1 week, I got all 4 of them, where I was am I ever going to get any? And then it was bam, yes, here they are.
Yeah. How long was that period?
So I got the first client in February, and all of them, in February.
Okay, so a few
I
months.
started
Really,
in September, and then really was working on my logo and the work and the website and all the stuff.
Yeah, that's actually very similar to me. Like, I technically had already started, but I was working. I would say my first week of going full time is when I got my first client. In the first 9 days, actually.
Oh, that's great.
Quite a little over a week, but but I had already spent months. I was working on the military base, and I had spent months outside of working, networking whenever I could, connecting, building up my website and social media and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I had done that for a few months. And then when I went full time, were you working, doing another job when you first started?
No, because I was teaching when I was in Arizona, and then when we moved here, my husband started his work, and then I just threw myself full time into starting my company.
Yeah. How long were you doing learning about the permaculture?
So I took the course 4 years ago.
Okay.
And then I actually was working permaculture into my high school curriculum when I was teaching my kids. So I was pretty much teaching them permaculture through my environmental science class. And then I had a sustainability studies class. And so that's when I really knew that I really wanted to be teaching permaculture when I loved teaching the kids permaculture. And then we would go out and landscape the campus. We were on this 3,000 acre campus in Arizona. And so we had tons of room to play and landscape. And,
for sure.
So then, I just really loved that educational component to the landscaping component and the design and the creative work. And so it just really made sense to continue that here. It's not with kids, but doing it for homeowners.
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense when I asked that question, what was your favorite project? And you said the clients. And as a teacher, that makes sense because you have a passion for teaching, and it's really teaching the people is what your favorite part is. It seems like.
It is. It really is. Definitely.
And so when you go to help someone, what is some of the things you do at first?
So my design process is really, I have my client interview where I figure out what they really want out of their yard. I learn a lot about their lifestyle, how they work, what they do, how they use their space, what they eat. So really learning a lot about them. And then I go and I visit the site, and then I kind of have an interview with the land. And I look at the land and look at the soil, and then see how water naturally flows through the property, and see how the wind is affecting it, and how the sun moves through the property. So then I have my interview with the client, the humans, the interview with the land, and then my job is to be the mediator in between and to really figure out how I can get what they want and how the land can support it and the best way to bring it all together.
Okay. So would you say you're more of a consultant?
So I do consulting where I can just come and tell you about your property and give you some recommendations. But then the second part of that is coming up with that design. And so the designer aspect is big too, because I'm making a lot of choices, and those choices are influenced by that bringing together of the land and the humans and what would work best for them. And then also trying to balance making it look beautiful, making it be productive, making it be sustainable and resourceful. So there's a lot of work that goes into the design and how I decide where to put things and what to do.
Yeah. So do you do the hands-on work yourself, or do you hire that out, or have them hire it out?
Ideally, I'm looking for people who want to do it themselves, DIY people, because I just think it's empowering to be able to see this design and be able to go and implement it. And I think when you have that connection with the plants, when you plant a tree yourself, you're really connected to it, and you remember to water it. And when you eat an apple from it, it's that much tastier because you planted that tree. So that's my ideal situation. But then also there's plenty of things that people can't do themselves or don't want to do themselves.
Like excavating maybe? Or...
like that. And so then I can help set them up with landscapers and people who can do that part for them so that they can do the fun stuff like planting.
Yeah. So do you have partnerships with local companies out here?
I'm working on it. So that's actually something that would be very beneficial if there are landscapers out there who would like to work with me and are more eco-conscious and in line with my values also. I would love to make those connections.
Yeah. And what are your values?
Just the really caring for the earth, empowering people and educating people to take care of the earth, and yeah, just very eco-conscious and no chemicals, and that's what I'm looking for.
Zero chemicals.
Zero chemicals.
Okay, nice.
Pretty much everything that you need a chemical for can be done through compost.
Yeah, and through insects and microbes. That's what compost. Okay.
Yeah, so compost is really supporting the microbes. It introduces microbes into your soil and then helps support them. It gives them something to eat, something to live in, and then that makes your plants be able to thrive.
Nice.
Yeah.
When you were teaching, did you teach like the different types of microbes and different types of insects that do this, do that?
Yeah, I did actually. We had a big soil unit where all my students were studying the fungus and bacteria and protozoa, the amoebas and the flagellates, and they all had a different species that they had to research, and then we put them up on a big board, and then we figured out how they all connect together and how each one is important to the other ones, and so how they're a whole ecosystem in the soil. And so yeah, my students got a lot of soil talk.
Yeah. It's not just dirt, there's a lot more to it.
Totally. Yes, don't treat your soil like dirt.
Yeah, exactly. That's cool. Yeah, so you were doing, like, you were teaching a lot of the permaculture stuff already before you even knew about it, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, no, I took the course and then taught what I learned in the course through the high school, through my students that way.
How does that work? Do you have to like run that up the board, or like do you create the curriculum yourself?
For the high school students, yeah, I was teaching at a private school, and so you have creative freedom over your curriculum.
Nice.
So I could.
You don't even have to like get it checked off. Or you probably do have to get it approved. Maybe. I don't know.
At the school, no, not really. It
Okay.
was, they trust you. And
that is cool.
What you're teaching is, yeah. And there's kind of like an informal environmental science curriculum. And so I would look at that and then match up what I wanted to teach and how I wanted to teach it through permaculture.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool. Being a high school teacher has got to be tough, I think.
It was hard, yeah. Especially during the pandemic.
That's
tricky.
when you were doing it? Okay.
Well, I taught for 8 years. But you were doing it
before that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And what got you into that? You just love teaching?
So I was doing so much gardening work, and then I got really into growing vegetables and food, and then got really into teaching people how to grow food, because it it feels so empowering when you can grow your own food and go out and harvest your lunch out of your yard or out of a garden. And so I just saw kids get so excited about growing food that I got really into the teaching part of that. And so then I was really into farm to school programs. And it was harder to work with schools from an outsider of a school. And so then I decided that if I wanted to do farm to school programs, I needed to be inside the school and do gardening that way. And so I started out in this amazing school, Sandia Prep in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And we had this great garden and this wonderful woman, Karen Lyle, who started the garden. And I was able to just revolve my whole 7th grade life science curriculum around the garden. And so we were out there all the time. And so that's when I really fell in love with teaching. So I kind of got into it because I liked the plants, but then stayed into it because I loved the teaching.
For sure. And that's so awesome, teaching them while they're young, about this stuff, because that's important. I've never grown my own food before, and I think that would be awesome to grow that. In my mind, for some reason, I'm like, I don't feel like I have enough land to grow enough food for me to eat. How do you maintain that?
You actually don't need very much land to grow a lot of food. You can do it really resourcefully. And if you use your vertical space and grow up, you can grow a lot of things too. And just starting in containers, you can start in pots and just raised beds in a small area and grow like a salad garden. So just lettuce is super easy. Yeah, I think everybody, no matter what your situation is, can take a little plot and grow at least a little bit, just so you get the feel for it. But that's another thing that I want to make every piece of land as productive as possible. And so I look at things like medians in between the street and the sidewalk, and normally it's just dirt, but if you could grow so much food just in a median. And so if you just drive around town today and start looking at unused pieces of soil, it's everywhere, and we could be doing so much. And if you just think about like putting in a shrub there that would feed birds, then you have instantly made this little piece of dirt productive. And that if it's a native plant that is drought tolerant and likes the sandy soil that it can grow in here, then nobody would even have to take care of it. And so there's just so much we could be doing in so many different parts.
For sure. Yeah. And hopefully we do start moving towards more of that stuff. And I think we are, I think us as society, as humanity, is kind of learning from our mistakes,
Yeah.
And, just constantly growing. I mean, maybe not even so much mistakes, just we're constantly evolving, constantly growing, constantly getting better. And so I would like to see that. That would be cool. A lot more making more use of what we have,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And so when it comes to, so if I wanted to start a garden, you said I should start with just start simple so I can get used to it?
Yes. And actually, the first thing I recommend for everybody who wants to start a garden is to start composting first.
Okay.
And so I actually have started this challenge. It's the 100 Composters Challenge. That last month I decided that I want to get 100 people to start composting. Because once you start composting, then you put that in your soil, and now you have healthy soil, and now you're ready to garden. And so by taking that step back and making sure you prep your soil, then you're going to be successful with a garden.
How long does that take?
So my favorite method is this it's using worms to compost. They're compost worms, and it's super easy, and you can have compost in 4 months.
Okay.
There's another method where it's hot composting, where you turn the pile, and if you're like really on top of it and you get it to the right temperature and you turn it at the right time, you can have compost in as little as 21 days. That's the fastest.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that's just how long it takes all the microbes to grow at a proper rate and everything you need.
Yeah, and break down all that material. And yeah. So yeah, if anybody is interested in learning how to compost, I've been doing lots of videos on my social media.
Yes. I'm a video guy for business. So that's
great.
That's what I love to hear that.
Good.
Because I know it's very effective.
Nice. So you can check that out because I'm showing different methods that I use to compost. And I've been doing lots of classes and workshops. And so if anybody's interested in that, they can go to my website and see what classes are coming up.
Nice.
I'm just really trying to get everybody.
Like online classes?
No, I've been doing them in person.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. Were you doing them online? Oh, yeah. You're still pretty new, so so you probably weren't, or were you
doing
like online classes?
Taking on online classes or giving on?
Giving. Yeah.
Oh, so in high school, I was doing lots of distance learning. So
I bet. Yeah.
So that actually really helped me get practice with filming a lot of videos.
Nice, good.
And so I do have a lot of instructional videos, and I do have some on YouTube. So there's some YouTube videos. During the beginning of the pandemic, I was bored and locked away and just started making instructional videos for gardening.
For sure, yeah.
And that actually came in really handy because one of my first packages with the design clients is you get access to my instructional video library. And so then I have about 15 videos teaching you how to garden. So yeah, I do.
That's cool that you have that built up already. That would starting a business is a lot of work you got to do. You got to make the social media, you got to make the website, you got to make all this, you got to start getting awareness, you got to do all this. And it is awesome that you already had that library there because spending time on that would have taken away from all the other stuff you got to do.
Yeah.
So things are permaculturally working for you.
Yeah, it's all coming together. It's great. Yeah, and then it's really nice too because then I'll have clients that are like, I don't know how to dig a hole. I don't know how deep to dig the hole. And I'm like, oh, that's a video. So then I'll go and film the video and then it builds the library as I get more requests from clients.
For sure. So you have a learning center basically on your website?
The packages, I have some of the videos that are available for everybody, but a lot of the videos are available for my design clients that sign on for a package.
Nice. And I think it would be beneficial for you too to write articles like how to start composting. And then that article can help you help your website rank when people are searching that, and maybe even in the Colorado Springs or maybe, just anywhere, but so that just helps build your brand. And
definitely.
I'm all about content marketing, inbound marketing, and
love it.
It's something that I've been really really like honing in on and studying, because that's really what I want to help my clients with the most, because I see it as a powerful thing. Because if you're doing content right, you don't need to pay for advertising, because you have all these inbound leads coming in.
That's great.
Yeah.
I do have a newsletter, so people can sign up on my website for a newsletter.
Okay.
That you get free gardening tips through that way.
Nice.
So that's one method that people can get.
Yeah, and
free gardening tips.
Like an email drip campaign, kind of like you already have articles written, or like, or is that like a constantly up to date one?
I have a list of things that I should write about.
Okay, yes, I do too.
And then as the mood strikes, then I come up with the content and then send them out. So I need to get better about being more regular about sending them out. But,
no, for sure. I mean, like, if someone signs up for your newsletter and you already have like 12 months of newsletters, you can just start them on the first one and kind of just drip it to them, you know?
Yep, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I love giving strategy when it comes to all this stuff. It's something I'm passionate about.
Awesome. Thank you. Much appreciated.
Of course. So where do you want to take this business? Where do you see it in 5 years?
I would love to be doing a lot more educating and a lot more classes. So I would love to have just like a yearly curriculum of classes and workshops that people can look forward to and they know what's coming. So yeah, a lot more speaking engagements would be really great. And then, I also have this dream of large scale composting. So, being a soil consultant for, places so like a lot of landscaping places like Rocky Top that gets a lot of wood chips and things in, and teaching how to compost, because that's really the limiting factor here, is that there aren't a lot of great high quality compost resources, and it's such a great way to get waste out of our waste stream and turn it into something super resourceful. So I would love to help our whole community by decreasing our waste and turning it into valuable compost that then makes it so that everybody can have successful gardens.
And you saying that just gave me a thought. Is it possible to like have like a compost farm and like people can just replace their yard with like healthy compost and like get it within like a day or so, or a week?
Yeah, I mean, that would be ideal, is to have a large-scale composting farm.
Okay.
That people could go and get compost
instead of having to like cure. I mean, I'm sure it's probably better to like take the soil you got and make it healthy. But
absolutely.
Is that possible to just replace it with healthy soil?
So no need to replace it. So I see a lot of people do that where they just dig out all their soil and then put new soil in. But it's actually amazing how quickly you can change your soil health. And it's really adding compost. And so when you add like a 2-inch layer of really good, it has to be microbial rich compost that has like all that living biology in there. And then that biology will just keep reproducing now in its soil. And then it completely can change your soil and make it super healthy. So no, you do not need to remove your soil. You can fix it. Every soil can be fixed. And
21 days isn't that long either. So
no,
it would go by fast.
And my yard, when we moved in June, you could not get a shovel in the yard. It was so hard, so compacted. And I put compost down and mulched it and held all the moisture in there. And now it is super easy. I planted a plant last week and there's worms in there and it's holding the moisture. It was so easy to get the shovel in. It took 2 seconds to dig a hole. So it can really transform super quickly. What do you think about ants? Like fire ants? Just any ants. Ants actually have a great ecological function. They're burrowing through the soil. They're making it so it's more aerated. Yeah, loosening it up. And then when they burrow, then water can get through their burrows and soak into the soil more. And they're feeding birds and other wildlife. So they definitely they have their place. For sure. Yeah. And I was thinking that I brought that up because I forgot why I brought it up. Oh well, never mind. That was half the reasons. Okay. Why did I bring that up? Oh well. Are you a fan of ants? No, I love ants. Yeah, ants are cool. Cool. But sometimes they can be a pest. Like get into your homes and stuff like that. Yeah. Because they love to
find this. They can get into anything.
Yeah.
And that was the thought. That was the main reason, the main answer I wanted to hear. But I also just wanted to give out this fact. I've heard that if you take all the ants in the world and weigh them, they weigh more than all the humans in the world. That's how many there are.
That could be. Yeah.
Just because they're everywhere. Like
Yeah.
they're actually the dominant species on the planet.
Yeah. There's a lot of ants. But then if you think about microorganisms in the soil, there's even more of those.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So if you hold in your hand a palm full of soil, you're holding more organisms than there are humans on the entire planet, just in a palm full of soil.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Of healthy soil. Yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me of a different fact. that there's so many stars and planets in the universe that there's more than every grain of salt on the earth. Like,
Wow.
that's how many there are.
That's a lot.
And I don't know how. Some person who knows calculus probably figured that out. Because I was like, how the hell did they know that?
Yeah.
Like, what?
It's an amazing universe we live in.
Yeah, like, did they go and count every grain of sand? No, but they probably did estimates on, like, every beach and everything, and, like, how much sand actually exists. And I don't know how they did it, but some smart people said that.
Nice.
Yeah. I know that's off topic, but it's just I think I connect things and I think things and my brain goes everywhere.
That's fine.
Yeah, my brain is like a microorganism.
Nice.
a whole handful of microorganisms.
It all connects somehow.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, sweet. What's is there anything else you'd like to let people know before we start closing this out?
I think just if people want to get in touch with me, my website is www.kellybull.com, and I have social media, so you can find me on Facebook and on Instagram, and so I would just love to be able to connect with people and figure out how I can best help them in their yards so that we can help the planet. And so yeah, just if anybody is wanting help with their landscape, or just I do hourly consultations too, so you can just call me, and if you are like, I'm thinking about putting a garden here, or I don't know, or tell me about my soil, I'd come for an hour and tell you what's going on with your yard and give you a confidence boost, so that you feel like you can do it on your own.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Yeah, and I'd love to see some of the projects you've done. That'd be cool. And
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send you some.
Well, sweet. Yeah. So this has been the COS Business Podcast today here with Kelly Bull, and we'll see you guys on the next one. All right.
Thank you.